Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are recording a list, a top 20. In fact, it is Hallow Eve, Hallow season, Halloween. It is Spooktober. And so we are recording a top 20 scariest Pokemon, but this isn't just a top 20. It's actually secretly a top 24. But 4 of these Pokemon couldn't make the list for various reasons, and we're going to get right into it with Basculegion. Basculegion is such a cool Pokemon for fixing Basculin, right? Like, Basculin was such a bad Pokemon. Red and blue version, no one even looked at this Pokemon. I didn't even see properly in Legends Arceus, like, how to use my Basculegion, but I already know it was a #1, like, upgrade for this Pokemon. Basculin really needed something, and Basculegion pulled that through. So I'm really excited that Basculegion exists. I just don't know anything about it because I never used it. You know, I know you evolve it through like KOs or something. I know it's got that quirky evolution method, and I know it's a cool ghost type, but I haven't had enough time with it to really soak in its presence. Another notable mention we got here is Spectre. Spectre is so cool. It's my favorite ghost horse, my favorite horse out of Spectre and Glacier. The only problem is I just can't really get over the fact that it literally exists as an ice type as well. And because of that fact that we have both Spectre and Glacier, I don't know how to pronounce it. Glacier, Spectre, Glacier. Anyway, we got both the horses, and because of that, it didn't cut it. It isn't as different as like Palkia Dialga. Like there's a duality there, but it kind of looks like a Zacian Zamazenta kind of gig, and because of that, it didn't make the list. Alright, for our second to last notable mentions, we got Rotom. Rotom is so cool, and he literally would have been like top 10 on the list easily, but every one of his forms takes away his ghost type, and because of that, I don't want to talk about Rotom Wash on a ghost type list, and instead, you know, Rotom Wash would be a water type, and Rotom Heat would be a fire type, so he's definitely one of the best Pokemon ever made, you know, he's really cool out there. But I couldn't put him on the list because he always changes off of his form, and his original form alone, like, that's like his whole gimmick, you know, like I have to talk about all of it, and because of that, I didn't think he fit into a ghost video, so I'll catch him later on another video. And for our final notable entry, our, like, fake top 4, you know, almost on the list, you know, we got Ceruledge. Right here, Ceruledge is the new Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. You could get him in Violet. He's really cool. He fights unfairly. He steals life from his opponents. We really needed a good fire move that healed Pokemon because fire types is all about this recoil damage, and right now we got it. Like, Ceruledge is really making leaps and bounds for the fire physical type, and I'm really excited to see what he can do, but because of that fact that he's not even out, I can't even put him on the list yet, you know? I haven't gotten to experience him, and he isn't here, you know, like, making leaps and bounds. I'm also a Violet fan myself, but, you know, I'm really hyped for his counterpart. I just really like how he looks and the idea of wearing, you know, the armor and stuff like that. So I'm actually way more towards his counterpart, but if Ceruledge was out, he'd definitely be on this list all the same. Alright, cool. We can finally get into the top 20. Right here with the top 20, we're going to be starting off with Golurk. Golurk is such a cool Pokemon. He's a ground ghost type with his preform being Golett. Golett and Golurk, their renders are amazing, and I love experiencing them, but I can never use them in games because of how slow they were, or how weak they were, or they would take a water type attack and they would just, like, faint, you know? Like, Golurk was weak to too much to be that really big soaky tank that I really wanted him to be, but if I can just, like, get behind the idea of, like, these ghost statues, like, Golurk was really there. He was a really cool Pokemon, and that's why he's landing his spot at number 20. At number 19, we got Hoopa. Hoopa has 2 forms, normal Hoopa and Hoopa Unbound, and honestly, both of them deserve a spot on this list. I really love Hoopa. I'm not a big fan of Mythicals, Legendaries. I can't put them on this list unless, you know, like, I really have an attachment onto them, and Hoopa did make top 20. It's just, I don't find myself using them enough, you know, like, how can I really enjoy a god when I want to experience this world as if I was, you know, a trainer in this world? I wouldn't feel like I'd be able to catch a Hoopa. But Hoopa would be the god of mischief, I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Hoopa Unbound. Hoopa Unbound is so cool, and it gives me such like Bravely Default vibes, and I'll talk about that game later on, but there's a character in it that always has a secret second form, and you'll find out about it if you play the games, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. Really is that cool secret final boss that you could fight in a game. Like if you were fighting a game and you fought Hoopa and Hoopa was the final boss and Hoopa would transform into Hoopa Unbound, like that's like Ultra Necrozma kind of boss fight material. At number 18, we got one of the best grass starters ever made. The rep from Alola, Decidueye. Decidueye is so cool being that grass ghost type. I know Dartrix and Rowlet don't really make the list because they're not ghosts yet, but we gotta talk about all three of them. And Rowlet was always so funny in the anime, always falling asleep, and he's so cute, and he evolved into Dartrix, my little bow tie man. I really dug him, and then, you know, Decidueye came out, and I was like, this is the starter I'm using in this playthrough. And honestly, I've learned to love Incineroar just a little bit more than Dartrix and Decidueye after all this time, but he still has a place in my heart for my first ever Alola starter. At number 17, we got the pseudo-legendary Dragapult from the Galar region. Dragapult was so cool. He launches his babies at you. Like, what more can you say? I really did enjoy Dragapult. I thought he was a very funny Pokemon. I didn't really take him seriously as a pseudo-legendary, but when Leon used him on his team, it really ended up giving me a lot of love for this Pokemon. Hearing everyone else talk about how cool it is and how he's based on this jet who can hide, you know, like, it really did flourish my love for this Pokemon. Of course, it didn't put him lower, but I'm slowly growing more and more with him, you know. Eventually, hopefully, he'll be lower on the list if I continue to grow and I do this list again. At number 16, we got Sableye. Sableye is a menace to society. Like, if you look at this thing, like Toxic, Leftovers, Protect, Stall, like, Sableye is the Pokemon for that. Plus Prankster, he is just so cool being the gem dark ghost type. Like, he really started this trend of no weakness. Sableye will always have a place in my heart for having no weaknesses and being this boss stall Pokemon. Like, he is so interesting and so cool, and I really ended up loving him a lot. And his Mega Evolution, dude, like when he fought Lopunny in that one skit, this scene right here, this was lovely. This gave this Pokemon so much personality, and I just love seeing that in a Pokemon. And you'll see that as we go down the list, that it's more and more about design and personality than like how much I really got to use them. Alright, so for our number 15 spot, I've never used this Pokemon once in a playthrough. I am just so in love with Dhelmise. Dhelmise made my top 15 just purely off of design. Being a grass ghost type, he is so amazing. He's the seaweed taking over the steel item of the anchor / wheel, whatever you want to call that, the helm. But he is just so cool. I really did fall in love with this Pokemon, and I've never used it once. I don't think I'll ever end up using it, but his design is just, I fall in love with it every time I see this Pokemon. He's definitely a Pokemon to gush over for no reason at all. Actually, he's got tons of reasons. At number 14, we got Mismagius. Mismagius is such a cool Pokemon. I love the hat, I love the design, and Misdrevius was always one of my favorite Gen 2 Pokemon. So when Mismagius came out, I fell in love. It's one of those Pokemon that has like abysmal moves and stats, and I could never end up using at higher tiers of Pokemon. So just being able to see it and its design, like falling in love with that, it was 100% one of my favorite designs Pokemon has ever published. At number 13, we got Chandelure, the Chandelier Pokemon. We got Litwick, and we got also its middle evolution, Lampette, and they're all three of them really cool Pokemon. I think I like Lampette a lot more than I used to. Litwick was always so cute, and Chandelure was always this boss, funny Chandelier Pokemon, you know? And then we got Lampette, and Lampette just slowly grew on me more and more. And like the idea of seeing these Pokemon out in the real world, knowing that Chandelure can be any chandelier you see, and Lampette can be any lamp, and Litwick can be any candle, like, I really like the personality behind these Pokemon and how they're scary and actually like a threat to your humanity if you were in the Pokemon world. At number 12, we got Trevenant. And the only thing I can say about this Pokemon is he's just so cool. The idea of being this monster who's, you know, kind of like, who used to be a kid who got lost in the forest. Trevenant is honestly a really decent Pokemon all around, and he couldn't top anyone below him. But Phantom would be either number 1, number 2, or number 3 because of how easily this Pokemon negs the rest of my list. Phantump alone is one of my favorite designs for a Pokemon ever. Plus their shinies being the white tree trunk and the red leaves. Oh my gosh, it just makes me gush. But like, I can't believe how sad I am to say this, but Trevenant just did not pull the weight of the final form for me. And because of that, Trevenant has to sit at number 12. For number 11, we got Cofagrigus, Runigris, and Yamask. And I know that's a lot to say, but all 4 versions are in this spot. And that's the only reason why Trevenant isn't higher up, is because every Pokemon Pastor is so elite, has multiple forms, or has a whole evolution line that I just couldn't pass up putting on the list. So we got Runigris and Cofagrigus. They're both elite designs. Honestly, if I was to rate them, I think Cofagrigus is my favorite design, but I've actually used Runigris a lot more, even though it's newer. And for the Yamasks, I honestly really like Runigris' Yamask a lot better. The Galar Pokemon do it so well, and I love the idea of that giant serpentine monster on Runigris. But, you know, Cofagrigus being this, you know, coffin that like sucks people in, that was always so insane for me as a kid. So honestly, this Yamask for the Runigris and this Cofagrigus, they're elite top tier Pokemon, and the other 2 do not fall far behind. Alright, so here we are with my final top 10 favorite ghost type Pokemon. We honestly could have made this a video just about our top 10 favorite ghost type Pokemon here, but I just have so much love for all the other ghost type Pokemon that I had to make it a top 20. And at that, I had to talk about 4 other ghost types as well. So this was 24 Pokemon I got to talk about today. All of them being ghost types and all of their evolution lines. So I am so happy to be here today. If you guys can, before we get into the top 10, drop a like, subscribe. Please turn on your notification bell. It would help so much. We're at almost 30 subscribers. I honestly want to make it to 100 by the end of 2023. So I'm going to be posting a lot more. You guys are going to be getting a lot more Halloween content. Even after Halloween, I'm going to try and get you guys at least 2 or 3 videos within like a month span. I really want this channel to blow up. So again, please help me as much as you can down below. It's free. Comment what your favorite 5 ghost type Pokemon are. You can even do just your favorite one, but I want to know a lot about you guys because you guys are here first when my channel is growing. So now we're going to get right back into it. We're at number 10, we got Zoroark. Yeah, Zoroark just got this Hisuian form, and just like other Hisuian forms, I didn't really get to grow with it too much, but oh my gosh, is this design elite. On top of that, we get to experience so much of it through the Hisuian anime that came out. We get to see the whole entire main character is the Hisuian Zoroark and the little boy, and just getting to experience their journey and seeing it and growing, it was insane. Seeing this Pokemon in the original Hisuian trailers was the reason I originally bought the game. Legends Arceus is insane. I loved it, and this Pokemon was definitely on my team, and there was like no way I was taking it off. I think ghost types in Diamond and Pearl and the Hisuian region in general were elite. And I think this Pokemon definitely deserves its spot on my top 10 favorite ghost types. At number 9, the only thing to dethrone my boy Sableye is Spiritomb. The first ever not weakness Pokemon went to Sableye. But it was done again, and done a lot better in my opinion. Not that the Mega wasn't elite for Sableye, but this Pokemon, seeing it on Cynthia's champion team, knowing it had no weaknesses, no way to get around it, you were stuck fighting this Pokemon in a fair one-on-one, and it wasn't playing fair. Memento to get out of battles, like Spiritomb was really an OG team stopper for Cynthia, you know, one of the best Pokemon to be using. And it was so cool the way it was introduced with its special mechanics and how it was always this different Pokemon that you couldn't encounter in the wild normally. At number 8, the only thing to dethrone the fake legendary, Gengar. Gengar was the original ghost type Pokemon. It led us since day one. Gengar is insane. It got a Gigantamax, it got a Mega, and honestly, I gotta talk more about that Mega than that Gigantamax because the Gigantamax is cool, but I'm a sucker for Megas. This Mega Pokemon was insane with its Shadow Tag ability, not letting a Pokemon swap out, its Levitate normal ability until Gengar was too overpowered and they nerfed him. That's right, Gengar got nerfed. He lost his Levitate ability because he was too strong. There are so many gimmicks like how Gengar and Haunter have a doubles gimmick, how they can like stop your opponent from ever hitting you. Like, these Pokemon are just so cool, and Gengar's been leading the pack since day one, and that is why he deserves his number 8 spot. You know how I was talking about how Phantom was one of my favorite ever first form ghost Pokemon? Well, here's another one, Duskull. And Duskull's whole line is boss. Dusknoir and Dusclops are insane Pokemon. All 3 of them are elite. Seeing Dusknoir at the end of one of the Pokemon games, one of the Mystery Dungeon games, he was insane. He was a main antagonist, and you were always cheering against him, and he just made me love the Pokemon so much. Seeing Dusclops and Dusknoir together always just is like, seeing them, and then Duskull. Duskull is insane. His design is top tier. I love him so much. He is the ultimate Grim Reaper line, and I love him so much for that, earning his place at number 7. Alright, right here, we got us our number 6th slot, and he's a new addition to the game as well. He is Aegislash. He came out in Kalos, which, gosh, that's a while back now, but like, he feels so new, only being a couple generations behind in Generation 6, and this Pokemon is elite. Steel Ghost-type Pokemon who really did pack up the rest of the list so far. Aegislash so deserves to be here. His whole line is so amazing, and I'm so in love with swords, and this Pokemon just did it all right. Alright, at number 5, I've been gushing so much over the other 15 Pokemon. Who do you think can be the top 5 leader for this team right here? For number 5, we got Giratina. Giratina is the OG Ghost Legendary. He is the king of the kings, leading the pack. Playing against him in Pokemon Platinum was insane. It gives you chills down your spine when Cyrus resurrects him, or when you find him in Turnback Cave. This Pokemon only got cooler when you found out he had an origin form. Even better, in Legends Arceus, they gave him the love he deserved in that 3-phase boss battle. He really did pull his weight. This is Giratina, the best Ghost Legendary. Alright, so we talked about the best Ghost Legendary. We talked about Cofagrigus, Runegrigus. We talked about all of my favorite first forms, you know, out here. And what can really be on this list that's topping all these different things? We got Cursula. Now, Cursula was new to the Galar region, and it was an idea of a dead coral reef. This was insane. This was like, how can you talk about this Pokemon? Like, Game Freak really pulled a lot of love and inspiration from the real life world about how we're killing coral reefs, and Cursula was already an insane concept, but it was on Corsola, who was a really cool Pokemon that didn't get the love it deserved, and now this Pokemon is insane. We got Galarian Corsola and Cursula, and Cursula is just so amazing, being this awesome ghost-type Pokemon that I always love to use whenever I get the chance in Galar. At number 3, the biggest cheat I can have is the only Hisuian Pokemon I've used more than any other, and that is Hisuian Typhlosion. If you know me, Typhlosion is my favorite starter of all times, and he got a new form in Legends Arceus. Now, this new form will never top his old form, but I can't believe how much I love it. It's such a great form, and seeing all the personality that people put behind this form and different ideas they put behind it, how he's the lovable one and not the angry one, how he's the emo one, the depressed one, the druggy one. This Typhlosion is definitely top tier. I don't think he'll ever top his Johtonian counterpart, but right now, Hisuian Typhlosion is my 3rd favorite ghost type of all times. We've talked about a ton of Megas, a legendary, Pokemon who's thought to be a legendary, Pokemon with no weaknesses, mythical Pokemon, Pokemon I love just for design. What could be next? Shuppet was the idea of a ghost. You know, a little spirit under the sheets, and it would fly around in this dark and mysterious time. I loved Shuppet's design. I fell in love with it, and I was obsessed with this Pokemon. It being so weak and having Banette as an evolution always was a distaste to me, though. And Banette was cool, but it would never compare to its counterpart Shuppet. It was too scary for me, the zipper on its mouth. And then one day, they invented Mega Evolutions. And when that happened, we got Mega Banette, the second best ghost type of all times, I dare say. This Pokemon is so insane. I love it so much, and honestly, with the Mega, you could probably put him at number 1 for me. He is the coolest concept design, the spirit coming out of the doll with all the zippers on him. He was scary, he was cool, he was good in the competitive scene. This Pokemon did it all for ghost types. And honestly, I'm not afraid to say that he's my second favorite ghost type of all time. Alright, we're at number 1. And this is pretty scary already. Talking about my favorite ghost type of all times. But what do you think of when you think of Halloween? When you think of fall? You go trick-or-treating? You go pumpkin picking? You know, the scary costumes like the ghosts and vampires? The idea that there's something lurking out there watching you no matter what? Pumpkaboo. It has the move Trick or Treat. It's a vampire pumpkin. It's so cute. It comes in different sizes. It embodies the feeling of pumpkin picking. You literally go out and catch multiple of these just to get different sized Pumpkaboos and eventually Gorgeists. And it and Phantom were single-handedly 2 of the best formed ghost types ever. The only Pokemon competing with it are Duskull and Shuppet. I think this Pokemon was truly an amazing creation, and they did such a great job on its evolution. Gorgeist flipping the colors upside down and changing which part of the pumpkin was really growing, the jack-o'-lantern face on Gorgeist's body, and knowing that he's still a vampire with his 2 pointy teeth. This Pokemon may not be super strong, but honestly, it was such a great addition to the team, and I loved using it every single time I got to see it. And even if it was just a different trainer using it, I loved experiencing it. This is my number 1 favorite ghost type, only rivaled by Mega Banette and Shuppet. Hisuian Typhlosion, Banette, Gorgeist, Cursula, Aegislash, Giratina, Dusknoir, all of them. They're all great ghost types. And I wish you guys the best in the rest of your Spooktober. And honestly, please do tell me down below which ones are your favorites. I can't wait to hear what you guys say, and I hope you guys scare me with these horrifying lists.